I had to think back to the time when I worked at Universal Studios. Anyone here ever been to Universal Studios? Terrible place to work, by the way. And it was a day like this. It was a really hot summer day, and I worked as a pyro loader at the Waterworld stunt show. Yeah. Thank you. One again. It's like, is my mom over there? What is it? The deep voice. Pretty sure it's my mom. For those of you who haven't been to the Waterworld stunt show, it's a giant arena stunt show based on the movie Waterworld. Thank you. It's not an interactive show. Waterworld, and so it's a bunch of metal towers, and there's a bunch of water in the center of it. Surprise, surprise. And during the show, people kind of fall and jump in the water, right? And right in the middle of the set is the tallest high dive west of the Mississippi. And at the end of the show, the deacon, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the movie, the deacon, the bad guy, turns around, gets lit on fire. As the stunt guy gets lit on fire, he moves around on stage, and then he jumps off and lands in a giant lagoon. And the way that stunt gets ignited, the cape, he basically has a cape full of gasoline on his back, and he's in a latex suit. But the way that gets ignited is a very special piece of pyro that is actually the most dangerous piece of pyro in the entire theme park because it's designed to set somebody on fire. So it burns hot and fast, and it is at crotch height. So again, it was one of these summer days. We had 6 shows, and I was pulling a double shift, and that's a lot of pyro to set up. And so this was like 20 years ago. That's so sad. This was like 20 years ago. And I got to the very top. I've always been a husky fellow, but I was in much better shape back then. But after, 12 times going up and down these ladders, I got to the very top of this ladder. My arms are exhausted, and I am always sweating. I sweat coming up these stairs, so you can imagine how much I'm sweating up there. When all of a sudden we get this alarm, and the alarm basically is somebody has gotten hurt, and you need to stop what you're doing, and you need to go down and go back to center, because there's nobody watching you, right? Because we're loading explosives, so somebody has to make sure that everything's kind of okay and you're not going to hurt yourself. And instead of doing that, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to load this piece of pyro by myself. I'm just going to do it. What's the worst that can happen? Yes, please laugh, because it's going to get worse. And so the safest way, the way that we were trained to, because we had training to do this, the safest way to do this is you would put on a safety harness, right? You would clip yourself onto the OSHA rated clip thing that was on there, right? And then you would kind of pull yourself over the railing and then load it so it was as far away from you as possible, right? A lot of people, they would just kind of get underneath it and load it like that. Of course, you would burn your face off like the Phantom of the Opera. Other people would just kind of set it up like that, and they wouldn't have children. But what everyone else did, and what I did too, was I would never put the safety harness on, because the one time I did, everyone made fun of me. They called me a pansy. We would just climb over the railing and load the piece of pyro without any safety harness. So we were up there, 87 feet in the air, our legs hanging over this railing, right, loading the most dangerous piece of pyro in the park. So I did that. And then I mentioned that everything is made of metal and there's water everywhere, and I'm tired. And as I'm climbing over the railing to go back over the railing, obviously, I slip. And I fall, and the way I fall, I slam my knee really hard into one of the railings, and I barely grab onto it. And so I'm holding onto the railings like this, hanging 87 feet over the set of Waterworld, and there is nobody around to see that I've just done this. And there is no way that I'm going to be able to pull myself up. Because people say, well, why don't you pull yourself up? I'm like, well, my arm's are already burning from doing the ladder stuff, and my leg is on fire, my knee, I can barely feel my leg, so I can't really move myself up. And then they'll say, well, why don't you let go? That's what everyone always says. Why don't you let go? Well, there are 3 problems with letting go, right? Because they're like, well, some people do it all the time. I'm not trained, but let's just take that away. Number 1, I wasn't over the. I wasn't sure if I was over the water, right? I couldn't think straight. So I was pretty sure that I was over part of the set, and if I had let go, I would have had the saddest Plinko game as I hit the set all the way down, and maybe water, right? All right, well, let's take that away, right? Let's say I did let go. The second big problem is that, and I did hit water, I was wearing steel-toed shoes, right? And so if I hit the water with steel-toed shoes, and I would have to take the shoes off, and I'm already in pain, and my arms hurt, and all this other wonderful stuff, and I wouldn't get it off before I sink to the bottom. And the third, and personally the most important reason I didn't let go, was I didn't know how to swim. Because when they offered me the job, they said, hey, for an extra 50 cents, you could work at Waterworld. All you have to do is sign this and say that you know how to swim. I said, 50 cents an hour, I'm in. I couldn't swim. I had no idea how to swim. And I was pretty sure that I was going to die. And so I'm holding myself on the railing, and I don't know if you guys ever have gotten close to dying. Anyone here had a gun pointed at them? Yes, thank you, me too. We'll talk about that later. A lot of stuff goes through your head, right? The choices that you've made, the good, the bad, the people that you've loved, the lost. It was pretty mind-blowing. And I had to take a moment and think that this was it. Like, I was 18 at the time, and I barely started living my life, and I just started drinking during the day, and it was pretty exciting. And I thought about this girl, Rebecca, that I was going with, and I was too scared to be with her, and I don't know, I didn't want to die. I wasn't ready to die, but I was gonna let go. I had to let go, because I wanted to die on my terms, right? I wanted to go on my terms. And so I closed my eyes, and for like the third time in my life, I actually prayed to God. And right as I was about to let go, I felt hands grab me, right? I felt hands grab me, and I look up, and it's a bunch of stage hands that had seen me fall, that were too drunk to work, so they were sitting out in the bleachers. And so they had seen me fall, and they ran around the entire set, climbed up the stairs, and they grabbed me, and they were like the two bigger guys that worked there. One was an ex-bodyguard for Guns N' Roses, so he was a huge human being. And they picked me up, and they threw me, roughly, by the way, back onto the set. And they were there, they were out of breath, I was out of breath. One of us was crying. I'm not gonna say who. And all I could do was say, thanks. That's my story, thank you.
Oscar Sagastume, ladies and gentlemen.